Hello and welcome to this short video on finding all relevant statutes for legal skills. My name is Caitlin Goldsby. I am a law librarian here. We'll get started. So here's a quick roadmap of what I will discuss in this video. First, I'll go over an introduction and types of statute to research. Then I'll get into annotated codes, then methods for researching state and federal statutes, then researching statutes on cost-effective platforms, and finally, we'll talk about some important reasons why some people still like to use print. The easiest and most fail-safe way to find a statute is to already have a citation for one on hand. But for most research tasks, unfortunately, this just is not going to happen. Statutes trump case law, so starting with case law research can sometimes lead to bad conclusions. Consider this example. Imagine your client is a neurosurgeon and you find a case where state Supreme Courts or the state Supreme Court says 1-year non-compete agreements are enforceable against doctors, but a statute declares that 1-year non-compete agreements are not enforceable against neurosurgeons. If you had started looking at case law, you might miss that very important statute. But don't ignore cases you come across either. Save them to a folder to look back on later if you stumble across a good case while reading a secondary source. Now let's talk about some types of statute. Initially, you should seek all statutes that prohibit, require, or authorize the conduct in dispute. Then you want to see whether related statutes exist. One bill will often contain multiple proposed laws regarding a subject, and this is how you can use the organization of a code to your advantage. You can research laws that are part of the same statutory scheme. Consider the following. The purpose of a statutory scheme, like protecting consumers or punishing pollution, exceptions or defenses you may find to a prohibition requirement, which party can bring suit, like a private party or a government party, remedies, penalties, and other consequence for violation, and also statutory definition sections. These are all items that you would want to find if they're relevant to the conduct in dispute. Now let's talk about annotated codes. Basically, you always want to use them when they're available. So here are two big reasons to use these. Annotations are an invaluable research tool. You will get many different things that you can sort of bounce to from whichever statute you find. You'll find case law, you'll find cross references to other statutes, and you may even find secondary sources that will explain that statute. Also, many annotated codes are updated more frequently than the official code, so you also have that advantage. Codes are an excellent research tool. The United States Code Annotated is in Westlaw, and the United States Code Service is in Lexis, and both of these are annotated versions of the United States Code. Annotations are added by editors, and they may provide links and citations to secondary sources and case law which explain and interpret the statute. And now we're going to get into the methods for researching state and federal statutes. These are methods that are available for both print and online codes. You can consult an index, browse the table of contents, review annotations, or use a popular name table. An index is an alphabetical list of subject headings that helps you find relevant statutes. It can also help you figure out the best words to describe things via redirect. In print, these will appear in a short series of books at the very end of the statutes, which correspond to a small group of letters. Online, in Westlaw, you would navigate to the United States Code Annotated or any state code, and then click on the index link that will show up on the right. In Lexis, you would type USCS index in the search bar to get the United States Code Service index when it appears in the dropdown. For state annotated codes, you want to click on the state and scroll down to statutes and legislation where you should find an index. This is the USCA as it appears in the law library. The finding tools like the index and table are in separate books at the end. For print or online indexes, you want to start with a good set of keywords. If you're dealing with a dog bite, Look up animals or dogs. If you're not sure if a non-compete agreement is enforceable, look up non-competition agreements. Both of those issues would likely be covered in an index to a state law code. And here's a demo on how to find the index on Westlaw and Lexis. For the USCA index, go under Federal Materials, then click United States Code Annotated. At the next page, there's a menu, and under Tools and Resources, you will find the index to the United States Code Annotated. The index is sorted alphabetically, so you simply click on the letter that you'd like and then scroll down. And to access the state statute index, you'd go to State Materials, click on a state like Massachusetts, and then when you scroll down, you click on the statutes and court rules, and again, the index will show up to the right. And you see there the popular name table as well. We'll cover that in a few slides. And now we're just gonna look at some of the things here, and we'll go over to Lexis and click on Massachusetts. Scroll down to statutes and legislation, and the index is its own separate link. Here, you want to click on the plus sign to expand that letter. You can also do a Control F search for the word if you don't want to scroll down all of these. And we're going to click on dog, so let's expand under dog. And as you can see here, some of these topics expand further. And this will bring you to the corresponding statute or statutes which apply to that situation. If you click on the Lexis symbol in the corner again, start typing USCS index, and it comes up here. And again, just like the state code, you can press the plus sign to open it, and you'll see all of the words that apply. Now we're going to talk about the table of contents. So when an enacted law is codified, and just as a reminder, a law is enacted as soon as it is fully passed. So it passes both legislative bodies and then is signed by the president or by the governor, or whatever the process is in your state, it becomes an enacted law. Eventually, it gets codified, which means it's arranged by subject. Related statutes are often near one another, usually near one another. In print, you can find the table of contents at the beginning of each volume. Online, if you go to Westlaw, it is the first thing you see when you click on a code, and in Lexis, it's the same thing. In this example here, we are looking at a table of contents available in Westlaw for the Massachusetts statutes. These are the first 20 sections of the Massachusetts statutes regarding divorce. The entire chapter 208 is dedicated to divorce, and there are 56 sections therein. If you came across section 1 of chapter 208 in a secondary source, or by running a keyword search, you would miss all of these other statutes that may apply to your client's divorce proceedings. And another reason to look at a table of contents is statutory definitions. These sections typically appear at the beginning of a chapter, but may also be seen under a title, part, or article. The definitions section may also be called general provisions or in general, and it will still appear towards the top of related statutes. In this example, we are looking at Chapter 44 on firearms in Lexis, and when we click on definitions, we get all of these definitions for different firearms-related terms, and these are the terms that govern the rest of the statutes. Now let's take a look at how we can find that table of contents. Federal Materials, United States Code Annotated, and here we are. This is the table of contents. If you click on any of these titles, you can see what's underneath them. Then in Lexis, we go to Massachusetts. We're switching it up here. And if you scroll down, click on the Annotated Laws of Massachusetts, and we see the table of contents. So here, Massachusetts statutes are divided into parts and then titles. And you can click on the plus sign to open up each different section. So here is where all of the laws about militias in Massachusetts are. And you can scroll down and see generally all of those different statutes that are about the same topic. You should also review annotations when you're conducting statutory research. You should review them for each section of code that applies to your client's situation. And print annotations appear immediately after the statute you found. Here, I'm going through all of the annotations after section 12112. And in an online code, in Lexis, annotations are just at the bottom, sort of like they're at the end of a print statute. And then in Westlaw, the annotations are at the bottom, but they're also available in a context and analysis tab across the top. So here we are looking at 42 USCA 12112. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, there are some annotations available here. And then back up at the top, the context and analysis tab is great. If you click context and analysis overview, you get a little shorter menu of all of the different things here. And one of the things I'd like to point out is your cross-references are here in their own area. So whenever a statute applies to your situation, you want to be very careful to look at the cross-references. And here we are in Lexis with the same exact statute. And we're going to scroll all the way to the bottom to start seeing the annotations. And they're under their own heading here. Oop, did that by accident. Right, and then you can also click on search terms to the left if this menu isn't visible, and then click on annotations to go directly to the annotations section. And now we'll talk about the popular name table. The popular name table will tell you where an act was codified based on popular name. Popular names include Obamacare, the Patriot Act, and the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. The PNT can be found in separate volumes at the end of the print code. Online in Lexis, you would search for the USCS one by searching USCS popular name table. For states, you want to look up the popular name in the index. In Westlaw, there will be a link to the popular name table to the right whenever you click on the annotated codes. I'll show you that here. So let's click on the United States Code annotated again. And here's that popular name table under Tools and Resources to the right. We're going to click on the O, and then Obamacare, which is really the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act. And these are where all of the sections of the public law were eventually codified. Now in Lexis, we're going to search for that USCS popular name table. And again, you can expand things with the plus sign. We're going to pull up the Patriot Act and see what happens. And what we see here is called a redirect. So it's telling us to see either the USA Patriot Act or the United in Strengthening America by Providing Appropriate Tools and Resources Act. And we're not going to worry too much about that because you just go to the different section in that index. This is a method that is only available online. It is keyword searching. So there are two types of keyword search, a natural language search and a terms and connectors search. Natural language is how most people Google things. Results are default sorted by relevance. And relevance is, of course, a determination that's being made by Lexis or Westlaw. Terms and connectors tells the database how close words should be, what words to exclude, and more. Results return only items which meet your exact criteria. And here are some terms and connectors that work on Westlaw and Lexis. One caution about keyword searching is if you run to keyword searching first, relevant statutes might be excluded from your search result. For example, finding substantive law that prohibits something, but missing the related statute about who can bring a cause of action may cause you some trouble. You may also use the wrong language. Statute language is more precise and succinct than that found in court opinions. For example, searching for Segway instead of electronic personal assistive mobility device. So here I'll just demo some keyword searching. We want to make sure that we go into the code first before we search. All right, now we're in the code. We can use the search bar to look for some terms. We're going to try ski within the same sentence as area and injury. So ski needs to be near area and injury can appear anywhere in the statute. And what we have here are a bunch of highly relevant statutes to someone who may have been injured in a ski accident. Now let's go over those in Lexis. Here we can search. We'll try ski area in quotes and liability. So here are some more laws that affect skiers and ski operators. And if we go back, we're back to the search page and I've clicked on advanced search. And here you can search in certain fields. If you're not sure what that means, you can always click on the document to the right and it'll show you the name of each part of the statute. So here I want to search within only the text, and we're going to look for the word ski and injury. And I'll get rid of the rest of that search string there. So what's interesting here is although I tried to limit only to the text, it does look like a few annotations were also picked up, but we're still getting some pretty relevant statutes. Now let's talk about researching statutes on cost-effective platforms. There are a few different options. So for federal statutes, you could go to uscode.house.gov. You could also use Cornell's Legal Information Institute, and these two are great resources for federal statutes. They are both searchable and they both provide a table of contents. And uscode.house.gov also has a popular name tool. For state statutes, it's a little more difficult because each state is different, but state government websites may have session laws and code available. Be sure when you're using a free resource to take note of any indication of when that resource was last updated. And for both, your state bar may provide a complimentary legal research database with membership. The Massachusetts Bar Association provides a database called Decisis, which is powered by Lexis. And here are just 3 key reasons to use print. Print will make you better with online sources. A lot of online sources maintain the print characteristics that they may have had before the internet existed. By learning and understanding print resources, it can also help you use tools available online. The second reason is that many attorneys and judges still actually use print. If you find yourself in a law office where you have to pay per click for Lexis or Westlaw, and there's a print volume, you should probably use that print volume, especially if it's in date. And third, some people like using print. It seems intuitive for many people. Some have always used print, and some people just learned how to use print and stuck with it because you get better context for the statutes that you're looking at. That's the end of my presentation. If you have any questions for me, Caitlin Goldsby, you can email me at kgoldsby@umassd.edu and also email us at lawlib@umassd.edu. Thank you for your time.